this morning back in July and asked Justin for permission to speak early in chapel about this particular subject. And the song just fits so appropriately. They'll know we are Christians by love. And again, I ask, is that true? When the world looks at us, those of us who call ourselves Christians, is that really what they see? Love. Love for one another. I question that a little bit today. The title of this message, if it's going to come up there, is Here Comes the Judge. I'm wondering if that's the way that non-believers, and maybe even some believers, view us at this angle, with our finger pointed out, being judgmental and critical of not just non-believers, but of believers alike. What a downer, huh? The message for this morning comes from Romans chapter 14, and so if you have your Bibles or smartphone, however you choose to read your Bible, I'm going to put it on the screen here. This text, Romans chapter 14, verses 1 through 12. And so I want to go over that here this morning. And I'm just going to read it, and you can follow along. And I'm going to go quickly because I have a short amount of time. But accept the one whose faith is weak, without quarreling over disputable matters. One person's faith allows them to eat anything, but another whose faith is weak eats only vegetables. The one who eats everything must not treat the one with contempt, the one who does not. And the one who does not eat everything must not judge the one who does, for God has accepted them both. If you have your own Bible, you might want to circle that, for God has accepted them both. Who are you to judge someone else's servant? To their own master, servants stand or fall, and they will stand, for the Lord is able to make them stand. You might want to underline that or highlight that too. The Lord is able to make them stand. One person considers one day more sacred than another considers every day alike. Each of them should be fully convinced in their own mind. Whoever regards one day as special does so to the Lord. Whoever eats meat does so to the Lord, for they give thanks to God. And whoever abstains does so to the Lord and gives thanks to God. For none of us lives for ourselves. Amen? None of us lives for ourselves alone. And none of us dies for ourselves alone. If we live, we live for the Lord. And if we die, we die for the Lord. So whether we live or die, we belong to the Lord. For this very reason Christ died and returned to life, so that he might be the Lord of both the dead and the living. You then, why do you judge your brother or sister? Or why do you treat them with contempt? For we will all stand before God's judgment seat. You might want to underline that too, so you remember whose judgment seat it belongs to. It is written, as surely as I live, says the Lord, every knee will bow before me. Every tongue will acknowledge God. So then, each of us will give an account of ourselves, again, to where? To God. I'm going to move quickly through a lot of this stuff, but I want to point out a couple things. One is that we're having two different groups here. We have those whose faith is weak and those whose faith is strong. And I want to make sure I make a couple of clarifying points. Number one is, when they talk about faith in this passage, faith refers not directly to one's belief generally, or basically how exuberant your relationship with God is, or how significant or rich or deep your belief in Jesus Christ is. But what they're talking about here is, it's not just generally their faith or their belief system, but their convictions about what their faith allows them to do. That's what they're talking about here. And so in one sense you have these strong believers who, interestingly enough, are the Gentiles. For the first time in the course of history, the Gentiles are the stronger of the two. And then you have this group of Jewish people over here who are described by Paul, who by the way is a Jew, as the weaker. And on the one hand, you have the Jews who believe very, very strongly, because they believe this their entire life, that if you are going to be a follower of God, and in this case now we're talking about being a follower of Jesus Christ, then you have to fully and completely embrace everything that there is, everything that has to be about being a Jew. The Gentiles, who have never had to worry about this stuff in their entire life or never had to think about it, they're like, you guys are smoking crack. Or figs. Whatever they smoked back then. You're crazy. What do you mean I have to do all this stuff? What do you mean there are certain meats I can't eat? What do you mean there are certain days that I have to celebrate? What do you mean there are certain days that I have to rest? What do you guys... Relax. And the Jews are saying over here, no, you have to believe, you have to act, you have to manifest Jesus Christ just like me. This is a difficult message. You see, the problem with this is that so many of us, we believe just like them. That if you're going to be a Christian, you have to look, act, smell, talk, believe, sing, just like me. And if you don't, you're wrong. This is a really, really challenging thing, because these people obviously do not get along. But God has said to them, just like the song, you're supposed to be one. You're supposed to be one in the Spirit. And people are going to recognize you as Christians by your love for one another. And yet you have these two groups that cannot get along. They cannot see eye to eye. And they both believe, the Jews and the Gentiles believe that these guys are weak sauce over here because they have to observe all these rules. And the people over here believe these guys are floating fancy-free and trampling over God because they don't follow the rules and the religious rites that are expected of them. Paul wants the strong to welcome the weak, though, not just to tolerate them. And he wants the same to happen for the weak to the strong. Now, this is an important thing that I want you to get at. I looked up the word disdain because this is what's happening between these two groups. The act of despising, the state of mind of one who despises, disdain, lack of respect or reverence for something, the state of being despised. They despise one another. They can't stand one another. They hate one another. And because of that, it's causing tremendous division between the two of them. In fact, those over here that are strong, these over here that are weak, the weak are looking at the strong, and the word is krino in Greek, which means contempt. What they're saying, and what I think I hear from students and people in the church alike, what I hear on this side is contempt. You know what contempt means? That they are saying to these over here, not just that I don't like you, but you do not belong to God. I'm removing from you the right to salvation because you don't believe like me. Because you don't act like me. Am I the only one that sees that? In our churches? In our college students? It breaks my heart. This idea that we have the right to point our fingers at someone and to judge them. Now, I've got to move very, very quickly here. But one thing that I want to point out to you, because this is really, really important, when we talk about our relationship with God, and hopefully I got these right, this is a critical question. How can we reject from our fellowship one that God has accepted? How do we reject someone that God has accepted? Because they don't act and believe like we do? They don't sing the same songs? They don't feel about certain things the same way as we do? How do we do that? Why do we do that? And yet we see it all the time. Who are you to judge someone else's servant? To their own master, servants stand or fall. And they will stand, for the Lord is able to make them stand. You know what? I don't answer you in my relationship with Jesus. Now, there are people that I put around me, and as believers, you have the right to say to me, Pastor Chris, there's some things that I see in your life I'm really concerned about. Are you doing okay? And you can approach me and love and concern and all those things. You have the right to do that. But you know what? Ultimately, I don't answer to you. I answer to the Lord. And so do you. And I know that as a dean of students, sometimes that you guys are put in a talking about salvation. And you don't answer to me in your relationship with God. You answer to the Lord, our own master. We are his servants. But here's the big answer to the questions. Do you not think that God is big enough to sort this all out? If somebody believes differently than you, don't you think God's big enough to sort it out? Don't you think God is big enough to reach down and speak into that person's life so that you don't have to condemn, disdain, hold with contempt, point your finger and judge? Is God not big enough to do that? To sort it out? To work in each and every individual's life, to mature them, to raise them up? And does it always have to be exactly the same way that I was raised and matured? We all have different backgrounds, different experiences, different journeys with our relationship with God. We have to allow people the freedom to grow in their relationship with God at God's own pace and at their own pace. And when we don't do that, we hold them in contempt and disdain. We criticize. We compromise the integrity of this love relationship, this unity that God desires for us to have. And it's sinful. It's not what God desires. There's a Peanuts cartoon that I came across not too long ago, and it may be hard to read, but up here at the top, Lucy comes in, and if you've met my daughter Lucy, there's some similarities here. Switch the channel. I said, switch the channel, I want to watch my program. Are you kidding? What makes you think that you can walk over, right in here and take over? These 5 fingers. Alone they are nothing, but when I curl them up into a single unit, they are terrible to behold. Which channel do you want to watch? Why can't you guys get organized like that? Friends, I'm telling you that this is the way the church looks at us. This is the way non-believers look at the church. We bully. We manipulate. We try to get people to behave and act just like us so that we feel better about ourselves. So we hold in judgment over them. And it's not right, and God doesn't want it. You see, I'm going to move on back. Here are some 4 good points here that I want us to get to. Number 1, accepting others is basic to not fueling a judgmental spirit. We've got to stop judging one another. Accept one another. Not their sin. We're not enabling here. But the fact of the matter is, we don't know all the facts. We don't know what's really happening in that person's life. We need to release one another, because releasing others allows the Lord to dictate the details of their own lives. Stop trying to control. Mighty to behold. Terrible. Stop trying to force things. Stop trying to judge the way that others should live out their lives in Jesus Christ. When we do that, we reject others in the family. 3, freeing others means that we never assume a role that we're not qualified to fill. You know what that means? You're not God. Neither am I. Freeing others to be all that God wants them to be requires us to not assume a role that we're not qualified to fill. We don't know their motives. We don't know all the facts. I heard over the summer this story, and I want to share it with you, and then I have one more point, and then we'll sing the last song. A couple attended a couples retreat in Colorado for a week, and I told this story to the RAs, so they've heard it before. It was designed for spiritual renewal and awakening of their marriage. The speaker for that week was Chuck Swindoll, and they would join in an auditorium each night similar to maybe this. And in the second row each night, there would be a couple that would sit about right over here in the second row. And without fail, 2 songs in, the man would sit down. And about 3 minutes into the 3rd song, he'd fall asleep. I'm talking about real sleep. Drool, snoring. He'd sleep that way all through the rest of the music and all through the message, and then he'd wake up and they'd go about their day. For 3 straight days, he observed this couple as this man sat down after the second song and fell asleep through the service. And the whole time he's thinking, oh, this poor woman. She's come here to try to save their relationship. She's come here to work on their relationship with God, and she's with this deadbeat husband that has no desire to be a part of what God's doing at all. This unequally yoked marriage so sad to see. She's trying to get things right with the Lord, and he's not willing to participate. What a sad situation. The next day, during the breakfast hour, the woman comes up to Chuck Swindoll, and she says to him, Pastor Swindoll, I'm wondering if we might be able to meet later on this evening. I need to talk to you, and I need to talk to you about my husband and what's going on in our lives right now. And he with behind the scenes in his mind, he's thinking, of course I'll meet with you, and I know what you're going to say already. In his mind, he's saying this, and I know what's going on in this deadbeat husband. And all day he's thinking about, how do I encourage this family, this couple that are unequally yoked. They don't think about Jesus in the same way. One's interested in Jesus, the other one's not. So he went for the service, and they had arranged to meet at the end. And after the service was over, they met at the end, and she walks up, and he goes to the front of the sanctuary, and they said to me, and she's like, Pastor Swindoll, thank you so much for being with me and making time. He says, well, of course. I want to talk to you about my husband. Well, I think I know what you want to talk about. She says, well, every day we sit up in the second row, and about the second song in, my husband sits down and he falls asleep. I've noticed that. She said, well, what you don't know is that my husband has cancer. And the drugs that he takes as a part of his chemotherapy, they drain his system, and he can't stand for more than 10 minutes at a time, and he's so embarrassed, and he gets really, really tired, and he sits there in the road. It was his idea to come to this retreat. And he's so embarrassed. Because he can't stay awake and he falls asleep. You see, you're his favorite. You don't know what's going on in the life of another person. Who are we to judge? We don't have the first clue. The hurt, the pain, the struggle, the fear, the conviction, how God's working in a person's life. Here's a good rule of thumb for you and for me. Refuse to play God in anyone else's life. I'm going to invite the worship team to come up, and we're going to sing. And I've asked them to sing this song, and if we run a little over, I'll send a note to your teachers or something. But this song is an important song to me. I heard it over the summer, and it gets right to the heart of what we're talking about here this morning. To not judge. It's not a role. It's not a place. And I want you to, as we sing this song, and if you want to sing it, you know what, that's great. But I want you to, in your best effort, as humble as it might be, to begin to allow God to release other people of the condemnation that is a result of other people comparing ourselves to one another rather than comparing ourselves to God and what He wants. And to release that, whether you feel that you've been judged or you've been a judger of other people, which we probably all have, to release that and allow God to do a work in your heart. Maybe you want to pray this morning up at the altar, and you're welcome to do that as well. But let's allow God to minister to our hearts as we sing this song.